welcome back to my channel. I'm Sonia, aka Sonia Blade. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're returning, well, welcome back. So my hair is just on a growing frenzy right now. Happy late New Year's and Merry Christmas. I know I took some time off. Holidays has been super crazy with me, so just a lot of things going on, and I needed the time off for my family, but we're back and we're going full force with my story times that I kind of stopped at. So today we are just going to jump right into it because I still have a lot of ground to cover, and I want to get this video out. Today is episode 5 of Tea Tales. If you are new, I suggest you go back and you start with the first episode. This is me talking about the 14.5 years that I spent in dental. I am retired now as of last September. So I've been just kind of going through the things and giving all the juicy details with everything that's been going on. Now, where we left off last time, things were really personal. I got a little bit more personal with stuff. I try to keep a lot of the segments that I do just focused on those, because even though there's always other things that are going on around in those scenarios, but I can't touch on everything because then I'm just gonna get lost with, and then this time I had this going on, and it's just too much. So I'm trying to focus mainly on just the dental part, but I did want to explain where my mindset was at in the last episode, just because I was going through personal issues, and my mindset is really determined my dental career moving forward. So let's just go and jump right into it. We still have a lot of ground to cover. So where I left off, I was working part-time at this dental emergency place. It was just supposed to be something for me to do part-time, and I ended up falling in love and wanting to kind of pursue my dental career into surgery. Now, I had been a dental assistant up to that point for 8 years, and I was with my last boss at that time for 3 years, and she was a great cosmetic dentist. I highly recommend her to this day to people. We do live in Dallas, Texas, and she's out of primarily North Dallas, and so it had nothing to do with her. It was no issues. There was actually no drama at that office whatsoever. I actually really liked the office, very upscale, but for me personally, I wanted to go into a different route. I wanted to pursue my career, and I wanted to do surgery. Surgery was just where I was at. I just loved it. I fell in love with it, and we'll get more into details about it as we go along. So I ended up going full-time working at the emergency place. I was there for probably maybe 2 years, but a majority of that was part-time. I think I did the first year just part-time, and the second year was just me trying to figure out, okay, where am I going to go as far as like surgery, because I needed the experience to get into surgery. Now, when you're in dental school, they teach you basic stuff like a lot of schools do. They teach you the basic stuff. They don't teach you the specialties. So you really had to just gain your experience and then work with the doctor that does these things in order for you to get that experience, that hands-on experience. So I didn't know anything about surgery. I did simple extractions with my doctor. So going to the emergency place, I really like to see some gruesome, really like amazing stuff. So one of the things that I did do, like I said, I was working there while I was trying to apply to different places. Now, why did I not stay at the emergency place? Because for me, there was really nowhere for me to go there. It wasn't owned by a doctor, which was surprising because a lot of doctor's offices have to be owned by a doctor. There was a doctor's name on it, which I found out later that the owner had a doctor friend who put his name on it, I guess, so they could I guess they were both like co-founders of it, but it was more of a franchise type of deal. And so he ended up taking on this business. He was a business guy, and he ended up owning this business. It was not badly ran. It just, like I said, it was kind of like an urgent care. You could have your insurance and come in and get your work done, but you're still going to pay out of pocket for us, and the insurance is going to actually pay you back. They're going to reimburse you. So that's just how it was. That was their policy. It's not against the law to do that, but a lot of patients, they didn't like it, but they really didn't have a choice because we were the only emergency place that was open 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, including holidays. So you really had nowhere else to go if, you know, Saturday night at 9 o'clock, you bust one of your teeth out and no other dentist is, you know, open. So you had to come to us. A lot of the doctors there were more new doctors. A lot of them were doing their residency there. They had just got out of dental school. They were trying to open their own practices. And so they, you know, they were working there to make extra money. Some of the doctors were super slow. I remember this one female doctor we had, God, she was so slow. I hated working with her. Like I was already so experienced and fast that I was just like, move over, lady. Like I can do this faster than you. And then we had this super hot doctor named everybody gets code names, so we're gonna call him Dr. D. Dr. D was so fine. He was really young and he lived in this nice loft close by. And he would come in from a late night of going to the strip clubs and he'd be hung over, laying down on the floor in the office with the lights off, and we'd be over there like, okay, get the patient ready, come back. We're like, Dr. D, like the patient's ready for you. And he'd be like, okay, I got it. Like we covered for him. And he was a great doctor though. He really was. He went on to have he has a very successful practice in the colony here in Texas. And then there was another doctor who is going to be a significant part of our story later on down the line. And his name was Dr. R. And Dr. R came from New Jersey, him and his family, and he actually had a practice up there. His story was that he decided to have a practice down here. He didn't say why that they left New Jersey, but that they came down here. They moved to Arlington, Texas. He opened up a practice there, but he was still working part-time here. And we'll get into his story later. But yeah, so he was working there, and then like I said, just a few other newbies. Dr. R was the most experienced doctor there. He was the one who knew more about implants. I had never really touched on implants before he came along. So he kind of introduced me into the implant scene. There was this one time where I was there. I mean, again, it was run more like a corporate business, even though it really wasn't. It was like a small franchise of a business, like I said, that was owned by a guy that wasn't even a dentist. So he was running it, and I ended up meeting, like I said before, my best friend Rihanna. She was the manager there, and we kind of learned how to do the front and the back, and then I got to the point where I mostly worked on the front. And I remember one night, it was me and this girl, we're gonna call her Chelsea. So me and this girl Chelsea were working there, and there was a new doctor. It was the female slow doctor, and we were all just there. Now we close at 9 o'clock, but if you come in at 8:59, we're still gonna see you. Like, unfortunately, that's just what that was. So there were times where I wouldn't get off of work till like 11 or 12. The latest I ever got off was 1 o'clock in the morning. Just because, like I said, we cater to the emergencies. And I didn't mind. I made good money there. So I remember one day we're sitting there and it's late at night. It's a Saturday night and we're getting ready to leave. I'm already packing up. We're already cleaning. And it's me, Chelsea, and the new doctor. And we just see this bus pull up, this huge bus. Now, I cannot say for HIPAA reasons who this person was, but he was a very famous rapper. He was traveling through Texas, going on tour, doing concerts, and he was on his way to Arizona. So he stops, we just see this stop, and me and Chelsea are both like looking in the window like, this can't be, because his name was literally plastered on the side of the bus. So we're just like, there's no way this is this person. So we see these two people get out. One's a really big, solid, like black dude. So we knew he was like probably a security guard. And then the other was like just a smaller African American. And so they walk in and they come up and I'm just like, yes, can I help you guys? The artist is traveling to Arizona. We're supposed to be doing a concert tomorrow night. He has this horrible aching pain in his tooth and he just like, there's nothing we can do. We've been trying to give him medicine. We thought maybe we could make it to Arizona. He's like, but you're the only place that's open, and he wanted us to stop. Can you see him? And I was like, yes, of course. So they go out to get him, and I'm having the manager fill out paperwork, or he's taking the paperwork to him because there are things that we do require on the paperwork. So, you know, the manager's filling it out, and then he takes it out to him. And the bodyguard just kind of sits in our lobby. There's nobody there, like nobody there. Like I said, we're about to close. So Chelsea's freaking out because I'm like, okay, we'll get a room ready because you're going to take an x-ray on him. You're going to get him ready. The doctor didn't even know who the guy was. Like, she had no clue. She was this young, Middle Eastern pretty doctor, but like I said, she was new, she was slow, and she had no idea who this guy was, like, whatsoever. So we're trying to explain to her, like, this is a very famous person that's about to come in, and he's probably gonna need something. So she's like, okay. So the guy comes in, and they put him in the chair, and right away, the girl, Chelsea, the other assistant, comes up and she's like, I can't do it. I'm too nervous. Like, she's shaking and stuff, and she's starstrucking. And I'm just thinking, like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is your job, dude. Like, really? Okay. So I had already worked at another practice, at an upscale practice a few years prior to where we did famous people. I already seen the families of famous people, and so it really didn't bother me having to work with them. I still had to do my job. I had to hold my professionalism. So I didn't mind switching with her. I told her to just sit in the front, and I'll go take the x-ray and we'll see what's going on. So I go to the back, and right away I can just see on his face and just smell that this guy is high as a kite. Like, he's out of there. I don't even know how he was able to even function a sentence out of his mouth, because he was out of there. He was on cloud 9, floating up in the atmosphere with astronauts, because this guy was out of there. So I take the x-ray. He points to the front tooth. He's like, this tooth hurts. If you can please do something. I'm excruciating. He's like, he tried to cover it and say, oh, well, I'm high on Percocet right now. I'm taking some, Vicodins. Like, I'm trying to get the pain down. Just won't go down. He's like, that's why I'm high right now. And I'm thinking, yeah, dude, I can also smell weed on you. So marijuana's there too, right? Sure. So I'm just like, okay, dude, like, it's fine. Like, I'm not here to judge you. Like, I'm trying to get you out of pain. So I go ahead and I go to the doctor, and we look at it, and yes, of course, he needs a root canal. So I tell her, look, he needs this root canal. Do you want to do it tonight? Do you want to just give him some medicine to try to get him to Arizona tomorrow? Like, what do you want to do? And we tell him, what do you want to do? And he's like, I want to do it tonight. I have a concert tomorrow. I don't have time to do this. I need to do it tonight. So we're like, okay. So we go ahead and set up, and I go back to the front, and Chelsea's like in the lobby, sitting on the security guy's lap, like taking Snapchat photos and Instagram photos, and I'm just like, really? You're not nervous, but you're taking photos with the security guy of this young folks, y'all get on my fucking nerves. So I, of course, call her back. I'm like, come here. So she comes over there. I'm like, this is not professional. Like, you're sitting up here getting paid to do nothing. You can go home, or you can do this root canal. And she's like, no, I'm too nervous. I can't do the root canal. And I'm just like, okay, well, then you can go home. She's like, no. I'm going to stay. I'm going to sit up in the front. I'm going to close out. I'm going to run batches, blah, 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 do reports. And I'm like, okay, you need to stay in the front. Don't be sitting on the security guy's lap. Don't be acting unprofessional. Like, I need you to do, if you're not going to do the root canal, then you need to be here. To me, it was so unprofessional. So I tell the doctor, let's go for it. So me and the doctor, the laughing gas didn't even work on this guy. That's how fucking high he was. I had that fucking laughing gas up to as much as I could, and he was still like, and we're just having to wait. And I'm telling the doctor, like, he's not gonna feel it. He's high as a kite right now. There's no telling what he's taking. I think we should just go ahead and start the root canal, because you're not gonna be able to get this laughing gas to work on this guy. You're just not. And so we went ahead and started, and it took 3 hours. The reason why it took so long is because she was slow. She was a new doctor, and she was so slow. And he just kept complaining and complaining. He was acting like a little baby, honestly. So you're this very famous rapper who's tough and whatever, and you're crying like a little bitch in our chair because you can't take the pain because you decided to take all these drugs, but you're mad because the laughing gas doesn't work on you. You get no sympathy from me. Sorry. So I don't feel bad for the guy. I'm just ready to get him the fuck out of my chair. And then I could hear giggling and laughing from the girl in the front. And I'm just thinking, like, and she's probably not doing her job. She's just up here getting paid to take fucking pictures. Like, I was irritated. So we end up getting out of the chair. we fixed the guy's tooth. So there's a famous rapper out there, very famous rapper, who I did his very front number 8 root canal. Yeah, I did it. Well, I didn't do it, but I helped. And so the dentist, when we're done, who didn't know who he was, says, hey, can I take a picture of you? And I'm just like, really? Like, really? So he's like, sure. So he takes a picture, and we go to the front, and I check him out, and he just walks off. Like, the manager's handling everything. So he walks off with the security guy, and I tell the girl, like, go to the back and clean up the room. And she's like, why do I have to do it? Because you're not doing anything, and you were supposed to be doing this stuff. I was supposed to be in the front. Why am I explaining it to you? Go to the back, clean up the fucking room, sterilize everything so we can get out of here. It's already like 12 o'clock. So as I'm running reports, trying to get everything done, getting my payment from the manager, they go out and they come back in, and he starts telling me that the medicine that we prescribed was not going to work on the patient. He wanted antioxidants, which we don't hardly subscribe that. Like, what doctor in their right mind is going to subscribe that for just a root canal? So he wanted something super strong, and we were just like, no, we're not going to give him anything strong. He already just said he took Percocet and Vicodin. We already gave him hydrocodones, and we gave him ibuprofen. Like, I'm not going to give this person any other medication. First of all, the medication industry, if you don't know out there, has changed dramatically when it comes to writing prescriptions because of people that abuse it. So some people back then used to be able to go to a doctor, say their tooth hurt, get a medicine, go down the street to another doctor, say their tooth hurt, and get more medicine, and then that created the addiction. That's what I don't know what the pharmaceutical companies were trying to stop. I don't know who's running it. I guess the health department. But they were trying to stop that. So over time, I have seen things change. Nowadays, your name gets run through a system nowadays. So we will run your name through a system, see if you've ever had this medicine before, see how long ago you had it, and you will get red flagged. And if you get red flagged, then you're not allowed to get that certain prescription. And that doesn't come from us. That comes from the health board or whoever's the pharmaceutical companies, and that is just to stop the addiction to pills. Also, you have to have a specific special prescription pad that only the doctors own because their provider IDs on it and things like that. And so they have to handwrite it. Like, we're not allowed to just go stamp it or just print it off. There's no such thing. Like, you have to get it approved by the doctor after the nurses come back and say, okay, we ran the name's cleared, so we can go ahead and give you this prescription. So you can't just go anywhere and get a prescription. It doesn't work that way. Especially in the dental field, we're only allowed to subscribe certain things, and you really have to really convince a doctor to give you something super hardcore, like oxys. Like, that's very unheard of. So I'm arguing with the guy, like, there's just no way. He's like, oh, well, he's this famous guy. And I'm just like, I don't give a shit what he is. You cannot tell me that I can do so. For one, she didn't have a special prescription pad. I don't remember why. I think she said she left it at her house. So responsible. And I'm just thinking, okay, well, then there's nothing I can do. I can't get you a prescription. There's nothing I can do. There was another doctor, Dr. D, the hot doctor. He used to work there, and he left his prescription pad there. That doctor wanted me to call him and get permission for us to use his prescription pad. That's totally against the law. And I told her I'm not doing that. So here she is trying to argue with me, and I'm thinking, like, but you don't have your prescription pad. So even though you don't even know who this fucking rapper is, and you're trying to put your fucking life on the line for what? For him to give you a shout out at his next fucking concert? Like, to me, she was just kissing his ass because we told her that he was somebody famous. I'm not going to do that. You're not going to put my license on the line. You're not giving me a job. You're not paying me money. So why am I going to do that for you? And you know what I mean? Like, to me, it was just so unprofessional. And so I was really pissed off at already the girl and the doctor. So unfortunately, guess what? He left with what the fuck we gave him. I wasn't going to budge. And he ended up going to Arizona and doing his concert. And he didn't give me a shout out, so fuck you. Kind of a dick that his manager was, and so was he. I was not impressed. I think if you're famous, you should be really nice to people, especially when they're giving you a service and they're being really nice about it. I was very nice and professional to him. I didn't even ask to take a picture with him because I really didn't want to be bothering with him with that, even though he did it for the doctor. But my point is that he was a jerk, him and his manager. So, but I fixed you up, bro. I fixed you up. Anyway, moving forward after that, I did complain to my manager the next day what happened. I told her the whole scenario. The girl, Chelsea, that was sitting in that guy's lap or whatever taking pictures, they saw on her Instagram, they verified it, and so she ended up getting fired, which I felt like she should have. She wasn't doing her job. And then the doctor ended up, she didn't get in trouble, but she did get reprimanded from my manager, like, hey, you tried to use another doctor's prescription pad, like, you could have got him in trouble, you could have got us in trouble, like, you know what I mean? So, it was just a fucking mess there. But I did stick it out there, like I said. I also, my manager, I do really feel really bad for her towards the end before I left. She ended up going to work one day and getting a phone call that her husband and her son were both in a car wreck. Her husband was on his way to go pick up her son from college because he had just went to college to bring him back to visit, and on the way back they got into a car wreck and they both were killed. And so they actually called her and told her over the phone, and she lost her shit at work. I felt really, really, really bad for her because she was just super nice. This was my new manager because my manager, Rihanna, who was my best friend, ended up leaving and going to work for Dr. R, the implant guy that worked there. So my new manager, that's what happened to her. And I felt so bad for her. I don't think I could, I don't even want to just fathom what that would be like. Moved me up to like assistant manager. And so I was pretty much running a lot of the stuff up there. But again, there was really nowhere for me to go at the time. There was no benefits included. We worked a whole lot and they really didn't pay me like so much that I felt like I would want to stay. And there was nowhere really for us to move up. So they hired just a bunch of random people all the time. Sometimes we got good people, sometimes we didn't. But most of them were people right out of school, especially assistants and doctors. So I did really like working there. I just didn't like where it was going for me in my career. Again, I wanted to break into the surgery field. Now there was a doctor that ended up calling me, and his name was Dr. D as well. Except he wasn't hot. He actually worked for a company called Monarch. I know you've heard of Monarch, right? Okay. So Monarch contracted him where they sent him to different locations every day around the DFW Metroplex, and he would do wisdom teeth extractions and implants and things like that. So he ended up calling me and he told me that he wanted to hire me because he had his own working crew. They didn't work for Monarch, but we would get paid through him, but Monarch pays him. So we would be like a contracting group. I really liked it because the money was astounding. They were going to pay me gas mileage, and they're going to pay me, he was going to pay me really high because he made a lot of money. And so I went on board and I went to go try it out for, I think, about a month. And I really liked him. I really liked having to travel. It was super fast paced and I felt like I was going to learn a lot from him. But there was 2 downfalls. I really am not a fan of Monarch, and we got ran very, very tough at Monarch. It was kind of like, even though we worked for Monarch, it's kind of like we didn't. So when we would go in, I'd say hi to everybody, I'd be nice to everybody, but they were just real snotty to us. And then the doctor told me that that's just the way it was. And then his person, he had another assistant who was also his manager. I can't remember what her name was, but we'll call her B for bitch, because that's exactly what she was. She was a total fucking bitch. She tried to bully me and was really snappy for no reason. She was really snotty because he paid her a lot of money. And she had been with him for a while. So she really felt like she was very arrogant, and I really wasn't there for all that. So yes, even though it was my first time coming in, I actually am not ignorant and I'm a really quick learner. And he loved me because I picked up really fast. but I felt like maybe she was in competition with me, which I was not. I was actually really excited because I felt like I was going to learn a lot from her. And so I went on to try to work for them. We traveled to a few different offices, but she was a total fucking bitch to me. She was so rude. And so me and her would go back and forth all the time. Like, she would say something, and she would cuss too. She would say something to me, and I would just say something right back. And then she'd get mad, and she'd tell him, and he'd be like, hey, you can't talk to her like that. Well, she was talking to me like that. She got me fucked up. You got me fucked up. Like, don't talk to me like that. Like, I'm professional, but you're gonna have to talk to me like a professional. If you get rude, then I'm gonna get rude back. So it went on like that for a while, and I was trying to stick it out because I really wanted the experience, and I really wanted the money. There was an incident though where, again, I've never worked in surgery, and I'm going to tell you how I feel before we get into this part of the story. Knowing now what I know, and then for the experience that I got moving forward in my career in surgery, because I worked in surgery from that point on, is when it comes to IV sedation, I really feel like it is not an RDA's responsibility to be in charge of that. I feel like either we should have some kind of certification or extra schooling that we should be able to do or have to do in order to work with IV sedation or oral sedation patients. And the reason being is for what I'm going to tell you what happened to me. I never worked with oral sedation. I never worked with IV sedation. I always had wanted to. I'm very experienced now. I'm actually really good with patients, but they don't teach you this stuff in dental school. To me, this is more of a medical area. This is more of their department. And I don't feel like dental assistants, we didn't go to school for this. There's a lot of schooling behind that, a lot of education that you need to know. And so you can't just put a assistant in a room and expect them to know certain things. If that patient goes and swallows something or inhales something, an assistant's not going to know what to do. Now, over time, we're going to learn, and I did learn, but still, I was never, ever comfortable being alone sitting with these patients. The doctor's one thing, most oral surgeons went to school for health as well. So a lot of them are DDSs and MDs. And so they have the credentials. I don't. So I don't feel comfortable or safe. I feel like as an assistant, especially a surgical assistant, we should have to go to school and we should have to get certified on something that has to do with this part. I don't know. And this is why. This is one story that happened to me, just one of why. So I'm working with him. All of our patients get put to sleep, IV sedation. All the patients are asleep. Now, they're not so deep into sleep where we have to breathe for them. There are different stages of sedation. Gas is really not as dangerous as people say it is, but nitrous leaves your body as soon as you get that patient off of gas. A lot of the videos that y'all see online where they show little kids that when had work done, or teenagers that had their wisdom teeth taken out, and they're like, oh, look at them acting goofy when they're going home off of nitrous. That's not true. It's because they had IV sedation. It's because the medicine is still in their system. Nitrous is a gas that we give you when you're laying on the bed or on the table, and as soon as we turn the nitrous off, we give you oxygen for about 5 minutes. We stand up and you leave. It's completely flushed out of your body. It does not stay in your body. That's what makes it so safe. It does need to be monitored very well though. You cannot turn the nitrous on without turning the oxygen on. So there are like safety caps on that. Oral sedation is a medication that takes about 45 minutes to hit your system. Patients are more susceptible to it than others. So like for me, it'd probably only take like 1 pill and I'd be out. And then for some patients, it takes 2 or 3 pills. And then even then, it doesn't put you all the way to sleep. But with the combination of putting you on some type of oral sedation and then giving you the gas, a lot of times the patients end up falling asleep. But you're supposed to be on a monitor. We're supposed to be monitoring you. We pay attention to what's going on with you. To me, it's more dangerous than IV sedation. because it stays in your body so heavily, you're still feeling it all day when you go home. Now, IV sedation is a little bit different depending on what type of medication they're pumping you with. And I learned that later on too. They have safer medications that they can give to you. But again, this is all through experience. This is not something I, as a dental assistant, went to school and learned. We learned about teeth. We did not learn about sedation. We did not learn about things like that. These are anesthesiologists and CRNAs type of education. This is their department. So I'm against anybody that goes to the dentist and you get put in IV sedation in an office. I'm against it 100%. I was against it then, and I was more against it as I learned through my experience. So here's the story. I had been working with him for about a month, and most of the time in the surgeries that we did, they put us way in the back, way in the back, because we had to wheel the patients out in the back off a ramp and put them in the car. They needed help. They were drugged up. So we get there, and we do IV sedation. So the patient gets put to sleep. We start working on the patient. Patient's being monitored. The doctor's watching it. I'm watching it. Again, this was my first time ever doing it. Not my first time like that day. I'm just saying my first time working in this environment. And I've been working with him for about a month. So patient's asleep. We're finished. Doctor decides he's going to quickly run up to the front to get something. He'll be right back. Granted, I'm way in the back. Nobody's back there. There's no other employees back there. B is not back there. He's not back there. So I get left alone with this patient. Now, I was trained enough to know what oxygen level I need to be looking at when it starts to drop. So I'm watching it, and all of a sudden, it just starts to drop. It just starts to drop, and it's fast. It's just dropping faster and faster. Little by little, it's totally different. This guy was dropping dramatically. He had sleep apnea. If you don't know sleep apnea, it's where your tongue falls to the back of your throat. It covers your breathing. You have to get on a CPAP for it, blah, blah, blah. So this guy was a heavyset dude. He already had sleep apnea, and then he's in IV sedation. Those are combinations that are really, really bad in our industry. So he starts to turn blue. That's really, really, really bad. You cannot go that long without oxygen reaching your brain before you will get brain damage. This guy was already turning blue. I lifted his chin up to try to open his airway, which is what I was taught. I was not taught beyond that. Again, I'm a month in when it comes to this stuff. So I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I start screaming out into the hallway. There's nobody in sight. Nobody. So here I am stuck with this guy who's turning blue, and I don't know what to do. So just out of instinct, I lift his chin up as far as I can. I stick my hand in his mouth, and I grab his tongue, and I pull it as far forward as I can to try to get it from blocking his airway. And then I just see him take this huge breath. And I'm sitting there shaking because I was scared. I was so scared. And the doctor walks in, and I start screaming at him because I wasn't okay with that. If this patient would have got any kind of brain damage or died, he wouldn't have even known. He was asleep. And guess who's going to get in trouble? Guess whose license is going to get taken away? Not just mine, but I'm sure going to throw that fucking doctor in the bus because he knew I was not trained for that. I ended up not taking the job for a lot of reasons. That was one. The bitch that he was working with, she was another. And just Monarch tried to come back and tell me that I wasn't going to be contracted with him. They retracted me being contract, and they wanted me to pretty much be contracted with Monarch and travel with him. But then when I wasn't traveling with him, they wanted me to work with them because he worked like 4 days a week. And so there was a few days where I wasn't going to work, but he worked at other offices. So I was going to be working with him, but they wanted to take that from me and make me work at Monarch. And so I didn't like Monarch. I didn't want to work for Monarch. I'm not a corporate office type of gal. So I wasn't for it. And for all those reasons, I told him that I couldn't take the job. And so he was disappointed. But he pissed me off because he didn't pay me for almost 3 weeks. I had to chase this guy around for my paycheck. I was so mad. And he tried to give me the runaround and say all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, I have to pay my fucking rent. And you're running around. Why am I having to chase you for my money? Like, why? And so I was kind of grateful for that too. Like, this guy is so irresponsible. And I think he has his own practice in North Dallas somewhere now. But I really don't care. I hope he's better now than what he was. So yeah, that's where we're gonna kind of leave off. That was my introduction to my first surgery field. It was not a really good experience for me. I still was determined because I still liked doing the surgeries, but the first deal just kind of fell on its face, and I just kind of still stayed at the emergency place. I still worked at the emergency place. I worked part-time. I didn't want to leave because it was kind of like my cushion to go back on. But I was still looking to break into the oral surgery industry, and I finally got a break. But in between then, I did go with my best friend to work at Dr. R's, and that was a really bad experience. But we'll talk about that in the next episode. Don't forget, on Fridays, I will be dropping my second teen mom video. I am talking about what it was like to be a teen mom. There's lots of heavy emotion that's going behind that. I don't know how many series that's going to be because I have a lot to say on that. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and the little notification bell at the end so you know when I drop my tea times. And until next time, don't forget to love yourself, you guys, because you are all you have. Thanks.